Hi guys, we are here again. Like in our last video, we made it to understand that psychology do not only come or being influenced or was not only influenced by the work of philosophers, but also physiologists. So we understand that psychology can also trace its activity from the early work experimental physiologists. Yes, I know when we say that we can easily relate with a name we know very easily, but we know that there are a lot of them, not the one you are thinking actually. So some of them includes, okay, Ivan Pavlov. Let me use that. Let me start with that. We have Ernst Weber. We have Gustav Theodor Fechner. We have Muller. Muller. These are people that had a lot to do with the beginning of psychology. These are great physiologists that had a lot of contribution. So starting with Ivan Pavlov in his 1909 theory of experiment on the dog, we know that he's a Russian physiologist, that his primary work was on classical conditioning, right? So he demonstrated intellectual brilliance. Yes, he demonstrated intellectual brilliance, yes, and had this unusual energy or intellect. He called it instinct of research, according to Ivan Pavlov. So he was one that noted that dogs could salivate before the food comes, and that phenomena he called it psychic secretion, a mental secretion, if I should use that word, my own language now, psychic secretion. Yeah, he contributed to many areas of physiology, even in neurology, and his work involved research in temperament. He was, in fact, he took his time to consider those four temperaments extensively. Yes, yes, and those are the phlegmatic, right? The choleric, the sanguine, the melancholy. Pavlov had his own after studying, and he updated those names. He updated them, and he believed that the phlegmatic are the strong and the impetus. The one that have that ability, the strong and impetus type. The choleric, according to him, are the quiet, equilibrated, and equilibrated type. Then the sanguine are the strong, equilibrated, and lively. They are very lively. Then melancholy are the weak type, according to Ivan Pavlov. So in his research, he was one that started what we call transmarginal inhibition, TMI, according to him. So he in fact, it means our body's response and our ability to shut down when exposed to overwhelming stressors. So when you are overwhelmingly stressed, you see that your body will shut down. You see the person may even take 2 weeks, he has not wake up, for example, right? You know, when that stress has reached that depletion stage, that your body, when it's exposed to too much stress, can deplete and shut down. That is what is called transmarginal inhibition, right? That is Ivan Pavlov. And as we know, however, that classical conditioning by Ivan Pavlov was the groundbreaking event that began not only an idea, but a school of thought in psychology, behaviorism. This is groundwork that brought about that. Now, another person we'll be wanting to look at again is Ernst Heinrich Weber. Once we hear Ernst Weber, I'm sure as a student of psychology, two things should come to your head: absolute threshold, just noticeable difference. Ernst Weber. Yeah. So, but for this course, we should look at more about him. So we understand that he was the one that is interested in sense of touch and kinesthetics and everything. He conducted several experiments on areas like muscular sensations, and in fact, at a point he was, some of his experiments, he applied pressure on the hand, and the participant will have to report the smallest distance at which he felt any pain or anything. That is when he discovered what we call the absolute threshold. Yes, so that the smaller distance between those, before you sense a touch, he called it the point, the 2-point threshold, the 2-point threshold, and that is where he deduced or induced, sorry, he induced his absolute threshold theory or a phenomena. Yes. So what again? Another major discovery is when he looked at weightlifters. Yes, he looked at the muscle stress or muscle sense. Yes, that is involved in weightlifting. Yes, so during series of comparisons of different types of weight, there are categories of weight, right? That was when he discovered, yes, he discovered the just noticeable difference. Yes, so the just noticeable difference is just a fractional way, right? We can, in fact, he taught us, right? He contributed that this JND can be used to, in fact, it's what we call the Weber's law. He represented it quantitatively. The JND, a fraction of a standard way of knowing the difference between two different stimulus. And in fact, it informed what we call the Weber's law, because he was the first person that quantitatively could represent it. Yes, in history of psychology. So we move, and today again we are talking about Gustav Theodor Fechner. Theodor Fechner, he talked about, he's a philosopher, in fact, a physiologist. Yes, he's a physicist, he's a philosopher, and he contributed more than any other person apart from Hermann Helmholtz, who changed the course of academic psychology. In fact, it was Hermann Helmholtz, but Gustav Fechner has a series of contributions. One of his is with the one we call psychophysics, right? So he started his work of medicine at Leipzig, Germany, at the age of 16, and during his research, in fact, he was, as a physicist, using glass and microscope to look at the sun and everything, and he injured his eyes. He sustained an eye injury, and this is at a point he had a nervous breakdown. In fact, this is reason why, in fact, he moved from that philosophical activity or trying to speculate or physical activities, and became interested in all these physiological activities and everything. Yes, and started philosophizing fully instead of trying to be very physical or like a physicist or a physical, interested in those physical things. He started speculating, right? So his contributions includes his quest to understand relationship between mind and body. He developed interest in psychophysics. Yes, that was when he started trying to look at the relationship between your mind and your relative environment and everything. So another name we'll look at is Johannes Müller, right? Johannes Müller is a physiologist and a German. In fact, he was known for his best work in sensory physiology. Yes. In fact, you attribute him about to have a lot of things to do with sensation and perception. That is James Muller, or call it Jed Muller, right? He was interested in every aspect of animal and human physiology. Yes, every aspect of human and animal physiology, and even brought philosophical implications to natural sciences. Yes, he was able to do that. Yeah, he believed that there is life energies that is transmitted through nerve, our nerves. Imagine at that point, through the nervous system, that he believed that there is a life energy. And today, you know what we call the neurotransmitters. So he was attributed to have been one of the first persons that did such, right? So in fact, it was attributed to him that he was the one that said that our awareness of those objects, yes, your awareness of the object out there is not what that matter, but like how do you put it? Your awareness is not the object out there, but your nervous system. That is the way he said it. Your awareness is not the object out there, but awareness of your nervous system and activity. Yes. So this is the contribution of these experimental physiologists and their contribution to the beginning of psychology. I will be glad to see you in the next video. Thank you.